papers, but I guess we'll just wing it for right now. I was going to add Nyonne Perry will be next with her story because it most closely ties in to some of what Dad had to say. But when I went to school here, we used to get an hour for lunch because the teacher lived in the teacherage and she had to go back and fix lunch for her husband, who was kind of handicapped. So we had a lot of time, and we would often go up to the cemetery, and we could just go, it was no big deal. And there was a huge sagebrush in the corner, and there was a jackrabbit that lived under that was the size of a dog. And he would jump out and scare us, and we would all giggle and run away. But one day we went up there, and a badger had been at work, and there was a piece of red calico coming out of that hole. As far as I know, we never ever went back. I cured that. So, okay, Nyonne, if you would like to come give us a talk, please.
Well, I can't get around anywhere.
Do you want to take the mic over there?
No, it's fine. I'll just use the pointer. Put the piano back. Bob-ombs. Okay. There they are. I'm going to be visiting about the Paisley family. The Paisleys have been in the United States for so long, our brogue is gone. The first ancestor record was Hugh Paisley in 1765 in County Antrim, Ireland. He must have come to America since his children were born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I didn't find any record of his arrival in America. Likewise, his wife, Diana Rogers, who was born in 1771 in Killinchie, Ireland, shows no record of travel to America. However, their son, John Paisley, was born in 1794 in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and then died in 1881 in Lynn, Kansas. John's first wife died in 1830, and his second wife, Sidney Haynes Paisley, had 8 children with John and Sidney, 8 children, one of whom then was Samuel Maxwell Paisley. And Samuel Paisley was born in 1822, Athens, Ohio, died in 1911, Morning Sun, Iowa. The 1850 census shows Samuel, age 27, in Athens, Ohio. In 1847, he married Sally Ann Savage, and to this union were born 6 children, 3 of whom died in infancy. Sally died in 1854. Samuel then married Sarah Skinner in 1858. And the 1860 census shows Samuel, age 37, in the Morning Sun Township, Iowa. And he and Sarah had 6 children, one of whom was Dr. C.A. Paisley. Samuel's son, Carlton Adolphus Paisley, was born in 1861 in Morning Sun, Iowa, which brings us to the Wyoming side of this story. Carlton married Susan Catherine Lease in 1886, and they had 2 children, Alpha Donald and Jesse. Following Susan's death in 1909, Carlton moved to Wyoming around 1912. Carlton was a veterinarian surgeon. So you'll see let's see, along there, there was an advertisement in Lusk about him being a veterinarian and surgeon. And this shows a picture of his office in Lusk, Wyoming.
He was the one that set the little girl's leg.
Right. He married Bertha Hitz of Lusk in 1913. They lived in Lusk, and then later, the year was unknown, the Carlton Paisleys moved to Winfield, Iowa, where in 1924, then he wrote a letter to his son, which was Alpha Donald, regarding a sick horse. George was the horse's name, seemed to be a favorite horse afflicted with an eating disorder. And the letter advises to use many substances no longer in use in our animal medicine world. We don't know the outcome of the horse, so hopefully he lived. I don't know. According to an account, which was given by Fred Hansen, son of Peter Hansen, and Peter Hansen was the one who donated the land right here to have a school built. So this account that Jimmy referred to was given in 1974 by Fred Hansen. So I won't recover the whole thing. But I think just to fill in one spot, since Doc Stevens was out of town, the section boss was also out of town. And at the end of the Lusk line at the rail yard, Shaw and Happy Hartwell, who was an attorney, went into the section house, broke open the tool house, and took a hand car for the trip back to Node. You know, it's always good to have a lawyer when you're going to break an interview. So that's what he did. Dr. Carlton's son, Alpha Donald Paisley, was my grandfather, her father, and Donna Paisley's father. And he moved to Wyoming in 1912 along with his father. In 1916, Donald and Elsie Humphrey, pronounced with a silent H, spelled Humprey, but that side of the family chose to silent the H. And they were married and homesteaded up on the Divide in Kirtley. We have pictures then that show the homestead and he and Elsie in a vehicle, in a car up on the homestead. 3 of their 4 children were born while they lived in the homestead up on the Divide. And in 1924, then, they moved to a ranch purchased from Mr. and Mrs. Todd. This ranch is located 1 mile west of the church building here, going west, on the north side of Highway 20. But all that remains of that Paisley place now are some trees and the building that my grandpa used for parking his car and a shop. So Richard was the first child. Gary was the second, and Wyoma, who was my mother, was the 3rd child. Donna was born 10 years later while they were living on the place west of Node. 1/4 mile south of the buildings, this present railroad line runs. And it was the Chicago Northwestern Railroad. It was a tri-weekly, so if it tried this week and didn't make it through, it tried. During one of the many blizzards in the Node area, Donald was riding his horse down the rail line when the train hit his horse. Donald was thrown clear, but the horse was killed. Grandpa had the hide tanned, and the haired hide remained as a cover on the bed for many years. Grandpa Donald built a tie windbreak So there's a, where's my light? Oh, way over there. Where did it go? There.
Yeah.
He built a tie windbreak south of his house along the road leading to the railroad. So the railroad was right along the bottom here. And he built that tie windbreak to keep the snow from drifting over his road so that he could get in and out to the crossing. After moving to the Node community, Don and Elsie became involved in the school, with Don driving one of the feeder route buses. Don built the small tables that you see. There's one in the back, a couple in the other room, one in the entryway. And we're still using them today in the Node Sunday School.
We use those in the typewriter class.
Okay. There you go. And that was with no electric typewriters. It was manual. Because of the long distance between the families who attended school at Node, it was decided to hold school during the summer and break during the winter, as Jimmy mentioned, to avoid snowed-in roads. My grandmother, Elsie, was one of the coffee makers when the community got together at Node. She was also a charter member of the Node Homemakers, which was formed in 1918. Been going a long time. Originally, the club was a family affair, with everyone arriving early, partaking in a huge noon carry-in meal, and then separating, with the men playing either cards inside or horseshoes outside, and the children running around outside, and the women then had their meeting. An interesting side note to the Node School, Chicago and Northwestern Railroad donated a flagpole, 40 feet tall, along with the cement in which to set the pole, a rope, along with the railroad men to erect the pole. And thanks to Jimmy Shane and Ed Perry, the flag can once again be flown on the pole. They worked on it Friday. A measurement was taken, and the pole is actually only 33 feet above the ground now. And rumor has it that Ed was standing on Jimmy's shoulders to reach the top, and he kept telling Jimmy to stand taller on his tiptoes. Because of the numerous tornadoes and windstorms around the area, Don and Elsie dug a root cellar close to the house. It was used as a storage for food in addition to a weather safe haven. My mother recalled that when a severe storm cloud threatened to arrive, her mother would tell the children that it was time to go sprout potatoes. Busy hands kept the children calm and quiet. Elsie died in 1953 following a long illness, and in 1957, Don married Clara Catherine Pedley of Ocheyedan, Iowa. She was a widow whose husband had died in 1941. Lots of Iowa ties back with the Paisleys. Iowa has always much more rain than Wyoming, and gardens around Wyoming require a lot of water from the hose and very little in Iowa. So when Clara came to Wyoming, she planted a garden and waited for it to grow. After several days, Don asked her if she was going to plan on watering it. With a puzzled look, Clara asked, well, why would she need the water since rain would do just as well? My mother, Wyoma Ione Paisley, attended the Node School through the 10th grade and then went to the Lusk High School. She lived in a sheep wagon with a friend, Farrell Ryder, until she could drive herself. Following graduation in May of 1940, she married Niall Simpson in September, and they moved on to Niall's parents' place in Van Tassel. In 1947, they purchased their own ranch south of Van Tassel, raising two daughters, Nyonne and Cynthia. While the Paisley place was sold in the 1980s, early 1980s, Wyoma's ranch is still owned and operated by her daughter and husband, Ed Perry. Well, that would be me, my husband. Niall died in 1989, and Wyoma continued to live in her house on the ranch until her death in 2015. So in closing, today's event is about family history, but a far more important family gathering will take place. Jesus said in John 14:2, "In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you." Romans 8:16 and 17 says, "We are children of God, and if children, then heirs, heirs of God and fellow heirs with Christ." I don't know about you, but that gives me a warm feeling of hope, knowing that I will be residing within a huge family when I go to home in heaven. Thank you. I apologize about the music. Oh, yeah, I think we all do that to Joanne. Just gather up our papers. But this is written in English, and I only read Irish notes. Oh, and
Donna, do you want to come talk?
or bring the
I can bring the mic to you.
I'm a stubborn Paisley. This is just a brief kind of synopsis of history of note that Wyoma wrote up some years ago, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Donna and Elsie Paisley and family moved down from the Divide homestead in 1924 onto the Jim Todd place, and the Todds moved to Eugene, Oregon. Then Mrs. Dean was the Node Sunday school teacher for a few years. Al Mueller family lives south of Node, across from the Bob Bell place. Mueller drove the South bus. How long, she didn't remember, but Jeff Boyle's family lived there later. As to the families from way back that attended the Node School, Carmen Shane should have those names from her history book. There was a big schoolhouse, once a church, now a church again, and 3 smaller buildings. One a teacher each lived in, bought by Jimmy and Carmen, and moved. Ed Thompson, where Jimmy and Carmen lived, was a bachelor. He was a great candy maker. I remember him making taffy on a marble slab, and he would make the Christmas candy that has the ribbon in it, you know, and it's curled like so. He knew how to make that. Ed and Esther and Pete Gurman played for the Node dances every Saturday night. Esther on the piano and Ed the banjo and the ukulele. And Pete was a great fiddler. Charlie Humphrey was the dance caller. There were many weddings, anniversaries, and so forth celebrated at Node. Seeing the R.S. Bell sign over there. Way back, and it's probably been 70 years ago. As a little kid, I can remember going to their 50th wedding anniversary. And it was just never heard of anybody being married for 50 years. But the community had this little mock wedding ceremony and had her come in with a fake veil on and him, and it was really cute, and the community really enjoyed it. Gypsies, kids of the Node School were really afraid of these black-haired, black-eyed, bright, colorful, loose-fitting clothing foreigners. They drove horse-drawn carts and wagons in 1930 when times were hard. And then they also had hobos at that time that they walked through on the railroad track and the highways, stopping at people's houses for a handout. I know sometimes Dad would come in and say, well, somebody was sleeping in the barn again last night. School bus drivers, Klaus drove a panel job with benches on each side for the South bus, picking up 3 separate families of cons, totaling 17, and Tom Pfister's family of 4 or 5. Ray Walters married Lucille Smith and lived just across the railroad tracks to the north on the Grout place. He drove the north route, bringing in the summer, that was being in the summer school. He brought in Hansing's 4, Smith's 2, McConaughey's 3, Turnbull, Staggles 2, Kenny Earhart, 3 Sides, 1 Lund, 4 Brock, and the Mudras lived up there, but I don't think they went to the Node School. Then later on there was Zerps and Woods. Don Paisley drove the West bus up to Geysers, Shane's, Sabins, Paisley, and Mickey Kraus. Okay. A.A. McCoy was the old storekeeper and postmaster at the Node post office. His daughter Betty had 3 children. They lived just over the hill from the post office in a little white house. And I can remember he was, the husband was a government trapper. And he had trapped and caught a baby coyote and had it in a pen. Well, Betty went in to feed. Betty was about 14, I suppose. She went in to feed that little coyote, and he bit her. And he just tore her leg all up. So I think they had to get rid of the pup. I guess that's about what Wyoming had to say, but I can remember doing a lot of things here at Node. There's one picture over there on Nyonne's sheet that is 3 buses and the kids that rode those buses. And if anybody's interested, I can read you the names of the kids that were on those buses. I guess that's it.